So now my comments. Okay, overall the essay structure looks pretty good. The student has separated all of the main ideas into paragraphs. So as we saw, the student did have 4 paragraphs, which is very important, very big thing. And I can clearly see that many of your sentences are in order. So as we read that, you might have noticed the student did a very good job of making sure they had background statement, thesis, outline sentence, topic sentence examples, discussions, conclusions, and then just in the conclusion paragraph, a little bit weak there, but we'll go over that as well. Now, the essay is also almost exactly 250 words, which is a very good thing. If you know if you're writing your Ielts exam, you have to have a minimum of 250 words, and the way that I see that is that you want to have as close to 250 as possible. And there's a few reasons for that. One is that if you're writing a very long essay, it will take up a lot of time. And as you know, you don't have much time on the Ielts exam to write the essay. So you want to make it as short as possible without actually going below the 250 word limit. I think this person's essay was maybe 253 or 254 words. So the number of words was pretty good. Okay, now let's go over some of the problems. So the first big problem was the thesis. So here you can see in black, this is the student's thesis. It is believed that aged people have a negative effect on society. Now, if you remember in the very first video that I did about this series, just before this, I talked about the essay question saying that it's not asking if old people themselves have a negative effect on society. It's asking about the trend of old person numbers in society growing. Does this have a negative effect or not? So the student unfortunately made the mistake of saying that, it's just talking about old people. That's not entirely true. So what I write here is this thesis does not answer the essay question. The essay question is asking you to comment on the rise of aged people, not on aged people themselves. So the thesis should be, it is believed, sorry, I'll just put it back up so you can see both the beginning and the second. It is believed the increase of aged people in many countries has a negative effect on society. So here you can see in this thesis, we're pinpointing the idea of trend, that this is a growing thing, and that in this student's opinion, that the growth of old people in society is negative. Okay, I'll take a moment just to talk about one thing. So sometimes when you're writing an essay and you don't have a lot of time, it's sometimes best to try and think about, well, what essay would be the easiest essay to write? What point of view would be the easiest point of view to prove? And I think, in my opinion, perhaps you disagree with me, but I think the opposite would be an easier essay to write. Because here we have to argue that, old people and their growing numbers has a negative effect on society. And I just think that it would be easier to write that the growth of old people maybe it does provide society with some positive things. Maybe, I suppose either, you could write it on either is fine, but in my opinion, I think that it would just be easier to write about the positive effects that old people have on society. Anyways, it doesn't matter, because the student decided to write it on the negative, and that's totally fine. Okay, now we come to the outline sentence. And my comment to them was, aside from this, I feel your two supporting arguments are weak. In your outline sentence, in the introduction, you write, now here's the student's outline sentence in black. This will be proven by analyzing one of the way that retired people spend their money, as they are more likely to be providing unpaid care. Okay, now just reading it again, I'm not sure if you look at this outline sentence, if you can clearly see the two areas that they're going to talk about in the supporting paragraphs. Because when I look at it, I just don't find that it's that clear. I'm just not quite sure what they're talking about. So my comment to them was, I think I understand your 2 points, but they're not very clear. I think you mean, number one, that old people have a negative effect on society because they spend money in a wasteful manner. So the idea being that old people use their money in ways that are not very useful. And then the second idea that I think the student is trying to say is that old people have a negative effect on society because they cost a country's government a lot of money. Back to the outline sentence, they're more likely to be providing unpaid care. Now, when it's worded this way, it sounds like the old people are giving someone unpaid care. I don't think the old people are giving people care, whether paid or unpaid, but the old people are ones receiving care. So I think the meaning is also a little bit messed up. Anyways, I think that's what's on in number 2. Unfortunately, your IELTS examiner will not understand these arguments if you write them in this way. You should write them very clearly, like this. So I've rewritten the outline sentence. Now I just used the 2 ideas that I think the student is trying to say. This will be proven by analyzing the wasteful manner in which elderly people spend money, as well as the striking care of the elderly puts on a country's government economically. So if you look at this now, it's much clearer. So the first idea is that we're going to look at how old people spend money in a wasteful manner, and then connect that to how this overall makes the growth of old people in society a negative trend. And then the second idea is the strain that the government has to undertake to look after old people. And again, we're going to connect that idea to how the growth in numbers of old people in society is negative. Okay, I hope you follow me on that. Okay, now let's read the blue. These are my comments. These 2 supporting topics are probably not the best arguments you can make to prove this thesis. Personally, I would have written about one of these topics.